Hey, Dee, did you see the Kentucky Derby news?
Yeah, about how a woman trainer was won for the very first time.
I know. I was at a bar watching it. I'm only interested in the
You were at a
Kentucky Derby.
bar?
Well, I was at the bar side of a restaurant where they have the TVs. Let me
Carol
clarify that.
doesn't drink, so it would
That's
be odd
right.
for you to be in a bar, but go ahead.
Anyway, so I never think about the Kentucky Derby until the first Saturday of May, and then going out to dinner, it's like it's on TV, and I'm like
Right.
wildly watching it. So now
It's a
Instagram
lot
thinks
of
I'm
fun.
into horses and horse racing.
Well, that's how that algorithm works.
It is. But it did show me that the roses that they lay over the horse,
Uh-huh.
they're made at a local Kroger, like 20 miles from
I
Churchill
didn't
Downs.
know that.
I didn't either. I guess the woman who did it originally retired and then they just went to Kroger, and so they live streamed the making of that huge big thing of
Oh, I
roses.
missed that. See, I didn't see it. I was at that conference.
Yeah, I know. But anyway, and then my aunt texted me and said there's a Hallmark show called Kentucky Roses, which is like a rom-com. I'm probably not going to watch it. But anyway,
Not really our style.
not really our style. Our style is this podcast, Dee. So get us
It is. Let's get
started.
started, shall we? I can find where we go at the beginning. There it is.
You're it.
Welcome to the Garden Angelus, where we chat about flowers, veggies, and all the best dirt. I'm Dee Nash from Guthrie, Oklahoma, where I still have a large garden out in the country and a small one.
And I'm Carol Michael from Indianapolis, Indiana. I have a suburban garden measured in square feet, about a third of an acre. It has not changed for 29 years.
We are Garden Angelus because we love gardening and we want you to love it too. Yes. Oh, sorry. Started to say your part.
Yes, we do love gardening, and we aren't afraid to spill all of our gardening secrets, the good ones, the bad ones, and even the ugly ones. It is time for another episode, Dee. Good morning on Monday. Cutting it
Yeah,
close.
we're recording on Monday, which is really late because we were trying to record on Saturday night, but I'd given a speech and I was just too tired, and I'm still too tired because I drove in really late last night. But you let me sleep in, sort of. I mean, I got up on time, but you know what I mean. You let me goof off in the morning, have some coffee, as it were. So let's
Yes.
do our garden updates. Tell me about yours, and then I'll tell you about my weekend.
Well, I'll go back to last Monday. We finally got some rain. It was a big old storm, 1.75 inches here. La 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 la. But also a lot of
What
wind.
you needed,
Yes.
the wind, not so much.
Yes. I did more weeding. I mowed. I potted up a few of my plant purchases. We had a few frost warnings the last couple mornings, not this morning, but fortunately nothing.
Mhm.
I also spoke to a group called Franciscan Senior Promise here in Indianapolis.
Cool.
Doing a product review for a company called Just Good Soil through GardenCom. They wanted people that would review this product. So it's a bunch of organic soil amendments. And it starts off with a soil test, D, and I sent off my soil test and they've
Yeah.
got it. So, and the big news, I went to the Johnson County Garden Fair on Saturday. It was awesome.
Awesome. Wow.
I
Tell me
bought
about it.
plants that I probably didn't need. I bought the cutest little succulents to put in this trough planter that didn't have anything in it for like 2 years. I'm like, that's perfect.
Yeah.
I bought a bunch of herbs that I did not need because they were young growers, these young women growing them. And I thought, I must support them. So I bought a bunch of herbs I didn't really need. But anyway, one of them was a place called Bloomer's Greenhouse in West Point, Indiana, not far from West Lafayette. But anyway, good time had by all. And I thought next year, remind me, I was there for 2 hours. And my sister and my niece were there too. We were going all around. And next year, I think I should stay for like most of the day. How about you had a big
Wow.
weekend.
You were busy. Well, I was in Tyler, Texas, and I spoke I'm sorry, I hit that drawer. I spoke at the Heritage Rose Foundation conference, and I spoke on companion plants for roses for the South, because we were
Cool.
in the South. And the other exciting part is, well, I got to do a lot of things. They let me also be part of the conference. I mean, I am a member. And so they let me be part of the conference, and it was lovely, and the people were lovely. And then I got to meet Peggy Martin.
The Peggy Martin of the
The
Peggy Martin Rose.
Yes, the Peggy Martin. And she came and spoke on the last day, so I drove to Shreveport from Tyler so that I could just see Peggy because I wanted to meet her. It was her 80th birthday, and
Nice.
we had a cake for her, and it was lovely, and she signed my children's book for me, and I know, and she gave me a hug, and she was she was lovely. Her beautiful Southern accent and her story about the hurricane and about this rose, and I think everyone should grow Peggy Martin. It can be a little hard to find, but if you know somebody who has it, um, you can get it. The reason it's hard to find is because it is so popular. They have sold over 1,000,000 roses.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. And then while I was there, Antique Rose Emporium was there, yay,
Uh-huh.
and I bought 3 roses, and I'll get the 3 names for the
Just
newsletter.
3D? Were you feeling
I
poorly or
only
something?
I only bought 3. Well, I have a small garden now.
Oh, yeah.
And I've gotta move some of my I realized that, Plum Perfect, which is my one of my favorite roses, is huge in the garden, and I have it in a pot, and I know its roots are being squished. So I've gotta move that one out into the garden because it deserves better. But one of the roses I bought was Sweet Pea. I know that for sure, which is actually an Antique Rose Emporium introduction. Then I came home last night, and this morning I watered the front garden. It was looking a little parched because I haven't fixed the watering system there yet. And I watered the roses and all of the pots and got everything ready. Oh, one more piece of news. Sherry Ely, who listens to our podcast and gets master gardeners to listen to our podcast, and
Yeah.
lots of rosarians listen to our podcast. She texted me, and on the way down, she went to a nursery and they had African blue basil, and she bought me 3 plants.
Nice.
I know, I can't wait to put them out there, but it's supposed to be cold the next 2 mornings, so I don't know.
It's cold here
And
still.
then what the heck? What is the deal? I don't Our weather is like this. Whew. It's like it's
Exactly.
April, but it's May. It makes
But
no sense.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So, one of the plants I bought at the Johnson County Garden Fair, there's this nursery, it's called Benedict's, and they're from Northern Indiana, and they're always there. They're always in the exact same spot. And
Uh-huh.
then the next booth over is always the Indianapolis Rose Society.
Uh-huh.
But at
Very
Benedict's,
popular.
yeah, they had a very tiny little rose, which they said was good for fairy gardens and stuff. And it's only, I'm showing like, it was only like 2 inches
An
tall, little
inch or
tiny
2 inches
leaves.
tall, yeah.
So I bought it. But then I think
Oh,
the rose people said it's not going to stay that small. I'm like, well, it's going to go maybe 6 inches tall. I don't know. It's supposed to be like a little miniature thing. We'll see.
it's probably a miniature rose, and it's probably gonna grow about 6 inches.
Yeah. Anyway, but the
What
rose
was the
people were very
question?
lovely.
There was a question. You said there was a question. There's no question in there.
Well, the question was, is it really gonna stay tiny or is how
Not
big
that
is it gonna
tiny.
get?
It's probably gonna
I
get s
got it in a pot, so I'm not putting it in the
it's
ground.
not gonna get very big.
It's pretty.
I had a thought when you were talking about that, but I don't remember what it was now. I know what it was. They had pelargoniums there that somebody had rooted, and they were rose scented, and if you made a donation, you could have one. And so I did, of course.
We're no fools.
We're just obsessed, that's all.
Anyway, I wanna go back to the Johnson County Garden Fair. I mean, I wish it went on for days.
Really?
Just they it gets bigger and better every year, and,
Yeah.
friend of the podcast, Janet, that I went to high school, she was there selling hostas and stuff, and I bought a little cute one called Mini Skirt she had for, like, $10. And
Mini
I don't
skirt. That's
know,
cute.
it is cute, it's just a little one. And
One of
I
the
need to, like, go around, put stuff in the car, go around again, put stuff in the
Yeah.
car, and I thought next year, I am really gonna go around, I'm gonna stay much longer.
I took things to the car too because, like, I bought 2 roses, and then I kept looking at Sweet Pea. The blooms are tiny on it, it's the cutest thing, and they're lavender and pink, which is very unusual,
So,
and Huh?
I was gonna say, speaking of sweet pea, do you wanna talk about our favorites
Yeah,
this
might as well
week?
talk about our favorites. Mine's Sweet Pea. So it's an antique Rose Emporium introduction. It was hybridized by one of the speakers whose name I can't pull out right now, sorry. Um, it's it's just the sweetest little creature, and so
How big is
I'm
it gonna
excited.
get?
Oh, it's gonna get big, but the blooms are little. They're just beautiful, and
Should
it's
I get a sweet pea?
let's put it in my garden for a year and see, but I think so. Yeah, I mean, it's part of the pioneer rose class, so that means it's really tough, and
Yeah.
that's what I need is tough because 'cause I'm
Well,
up on
and
this
here's
hill, this windy, windy hill.
the thing I was gonna say is every other plant in your old garden, plants in your new garden, they're going like, "Yeah, last one in the door is your favorite now. What about all of us?"
Well, I love them too. Okay, moving on. Tell me about yours.
So mine is the columbine, and this is in particular not the native columbine, but the columbine Aquilegia vulgaris. Different ones are blooming all over the garden, so I know that they're self-sowing, and I love that, and because of the spring we've had, they're half the
Mhm.
height that they normally are. They're half
That's
the height,
weird.
but they've been blooming, and they're also blooming early, in my
So
opinion.
they're happy.
Yes. And I did send some columbine seeds to a listener, Judy, down in Texas. I sent those on the weekend, but they're blooming all over. I'm gonna let them all set seed. I'm all about them.
I think it's great. All right, our question of the week, I'm gonna read it because it's kind of a question, but this so let me set the scene. So we were in Shreveport at the American Rose. I'm not gonna get this right, but it's a rose garden, and it's really famous. And now the Heritage Rose Foundation has a section of the garden, which was beautiful, and they worked on it really hard, to get it ready. So Peggy Martin was there, and she was talking about her story, and, everybody no one knows the true name of the Peggy Martin rose. It was an
Right.
unnamed rose, and she got a cutting from her hairdresser's mother-in-law's garden, okay?
Yeah.
So nobody knows the name, but what is the classification? And I was in this room full of rosarians, scientists, hybridizers. It was really pretty amazing. And it was bantered around for like, I don't know, 15 minutes. And one of them decided that Peggy Martin is a member of the Rosa multiflora class. And everyone, including Peggy, believes it's from the 1800s. And most people think that it came in to the port in the 1800s from France
To
because
the
a lot
Port
of
of New
stuff
Orleans.
yes, the Port of New Orleans. And so most people think it's a French rose, has an amazing rootstock. It's an amazing rose. And I'm going to dig up a piece of it from my garden and bring it over here. It'll be easy to do because I've got it. It it has a huge rootstock, so lots of roses come up and lots
Cool.
of canes. And I've heard that you can just take a cane, chop it off, stick it down in the ground, and it'll root. I think I
If
want
it's
to
a
try
Rosa
that.
multiflora class, I'm guessing probably
Yeah.
yes.
So amazing, it survived Hurricane Katrina. Oh, I should say where you can get it. Okay, so Antique Rose Emporium always has it. A few other places have it too. It can be a little hard to get just because people will buy it. That's
Right.
fine. I
Right.
think I said that already. All right, insect of the week.
So I've chosen the columbine sawfly
Mm.
because unfortunately I went out there and I looked at some of the columbines. I'm like, hmm, your leaves have been skeletonized. There are no leaves left. There are just stems. And it's because the sawfly larva will just munch, 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 munch on those until their heart's delight. It won't kill it. It
Nope,
should,
but they're
it should,
annoying.
no, annoying, ugly, should leaf out again. As long as it sets seed, I don't care. Not to be confused with leaf miners that they kind of burrow in between the two layers of the leaf. So you get those little trails all through the leaves. Those
Yeah, I
also
get
don't
those
bother
on
me.
things too.
They're
Mhm.
mostly annoying. Do not get out the sprays. Do not kill them. Just move on. Everybody move on. That's our insect of the week.
There's this year in the roses, at least in my house, my old house, we're having a lot of trouble with spider mites. So another leafy irritant.
Yes.
We can talk about it next week.
Yeah. Yes. We'd like to talk about delightful things that are eating your garden. I will do a quote and we'll talk about flowers.
Let's do it.
May is the month of expectation, the month of wishes, the month of hope. And that is Emily Bronte.
It is. This year it's the month of roller coaster temperatures, but whatever.
Ditto.
Okay, flowers. What flowers should you leave behind as you grow older in the garden? You chose this topic.
I did, and you could go 2 ways with this. Since you are leaving behind a garden and moving to a
Yeah.
new garden, you could say, "What are you just leaving behind because I don't really care for it to follow me to my new garden." But really, as you get older, and this kinda ties into our book, but, fussy plants, we don't need those anymore.
I'm looking to see if I have the book in here. I don't think I do.
I
Okay,
have it,
I know.
but
I don't
fussy
know where it
plants
is. It should be right here.
probably
Hey, keep going.
probably over by your reading chair or something.
Yeah, probably.
Anyway, it's easy to say anything that gives you trouble.
Yeah,
So
I
if
would
it
say
gives
that's
you
true.
trouble and by trouble, I don't know, if it's, like
That's
something
a
that's
broad category,
let's
Carol.
move
Go ahead.
on. So stuff you're trying to overwinter,
Yeah.
especially if it's in a big pot. Now,
Oh, yeah.
I
Big
overwinter my figs, and I watched an Instagram video where they had taken a fig tree, and they had pushed up all the branches in the fall and wrapped rope around there, and then they put insulation like you would put in walls. They packed insulation around it, and then they put a tarp around it, and it was somebody's nana, somebody's grandmother, and I'm like, "No, no, we don't do that when we're older. We cut it back
Mhm.
to the ground and hope that it's root hardy," which mine are root hardy, but stuff like that, or if it's in a big heavy pot, those can
Well, most
be
of my stuff is in big, heavy pots, but most of what I grow can stay out all year that's in pots. Now, I do have some hand-thrown, terracotta, and I will take it inside. Not so
oh,
much for
yeah.
the plants, but for the terracotta.
Oh, yeah,
I'll
I
put
have
it
to
in the
take stuff
garage.
in I
Yeah.
put it under a big tarp in the wintertime.
But
I
you
don't
know what?
leave it far.
I let go of a oh, what's it called? A jasmine that I grown for, I don't know, 10 years. It's gone. I threw it away the other day, and I took off its little obelisk and threw the whole pot. The pot had broken, and I thought, "You know what? I'm done with this. I'm tired of carrying it in." I don't have a greenhouse right now unless you count my one at my old house.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say, I used to take all the patio stuff and I would bring it around the house and put it away in the garage,
Yeah.
and then I thought, "The least distance I can take this stuff, the better," so I just kinda shove it all up against the house and put a big tarp over it, and it's
And
like,
it's okay.
it's okay, as long as it doesn't get wet, and have that freeze thaw, but I did overwinter those pelargoniums, but that turned out to be not a big deal.
Yeah, those aren't that hard, so not too worried about that. I'm going over to the other house today, and I need to bring over my plant stand. I'm meeting with the estate sale lady today. But I have this one beautiful antique green plant. I think it's beautiful, plant sans wire, and I need to take it and put it on my back patio and put my pelargoniums all in the same pots again. You know what I mean? I need to clean all that up. Oh, that could be
Right.
part of my garden, what is it, chores for next week. But all I'm saying is you have to decide what is important to you. What is really
Exactly.
important to you? And you have to I have had to let go of certain things. So
Yeah, and so the next thing was, like, fussy plants for your climate,
mhm.
and I don't tend to mess with fussy plants for my climate.
Mm-mm. Me
I
neither
just
anymore. I
no.
just don't care. You know what? There's enough good plants that grow within your zone. And when I was a young gardener and a new gardener, I really did stretch my zone a lot because I wanted to. And now I'm like, why? I mean, I just want it to look beautiful. And by the way, my daughter this morning, Megan, told me on the phone that when she and Maddie came over to water my pots for me that one night while I was gone, she came over and she said when she pulled into the driveway, she goes, "I wish I'd had my video on because Maddie said, 'Look, mom, there is so much beauty in Gigi's garden.'"
Oh, that is really sweet.
I was like, "That is so precious."
That
So
is
that's what I'm
precious.
going for is beauty. I don't care so much about growing, I'm not a show off anymore.
Yeah. No, I'm just growing f things I love. The giant shrubs are another thing, if
No, done.
I have the big long handled pruner,
Mhm.
battery operated pruner, so I can manage what I've got. But I don't think I want any more.
No, I don't either, I'm done with that. Oh, stuff that suckers.
No, stuff with stickers.
Oh, stickers, prickles, or thorns.
And you said
Um,
barberry, and then I very sneakily wrote, "But not roses."
Although there are some roses that do not have prickles, and technically it is prickles, not thorns, but we all say thorns. Yeah, I mean, I like roses. I still love roses. It's worth it to me to grow roses. But
Yes.
so far, there's not a single daylily in this garden. Isn't that odd? I
That
know.
is and those are so easy to dig and divide.
I know. I just haven't done it yet. I divided my salvia and I brought over my Brazilian verbena last week. So slowly, and my larkspur. So slowly I'm bringing stuff over slowly. But I need to do the daylilies soon because if it gets hot, they'll rot. So I need to
Right.
transplant them. I just don't know which one I want really. I got to decide that. I think I want Victorian lace.
Yeah. Do you hear the mower out my window?
No, I don't. I don't hear
Oh,
them. Okay, so you said read the tags when you buy shrubs to figure out how big they're likely to get. I would say that's true with any plant, but yes,
yes.
especially shrubs and roses include that. Are
And
included
what's funny when I go with, like, my sister to the greenhouse or
in
wherever, and
that.
she looks at a plant and she says, "How big is that gonna get?" And I'm like, "Ooh, there's this thing called a tag in here. Let us pull it out. Let us see that it says
Well,
exactly, this is how big it's going to get."
how big it's going to get, what kind of sunlight it needs, what kind of water it needs. It says all kinds of things. And
But
then usually
in her
they have a QR
defense,
code
her
that tells you more.
she's had eye problems, and I think her vision for reading things up close is not as good as mine.
Yeah, so that's what you're partially there for.
Yes.
All right, ask for help lifting and carrying heavy stuff. Yeah, my son has brought over a lot of my giant pots, God love him, and, I brought over some of them. That one day when I got so mad because they broke one of my pots, I hoisted another pot on my shoulder and put it in my car, but I had a lot of adrenaline that day.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
mad.
I've been there, been there.
In there.
Not
Oh,
not that a
use the
pod got
right
broken, but just, like, I gotta get this done and the
Yeah, well,
adrenaline.
you have to get it done. Use the right tools to work so that they work with you and not against you. Battery operated tools, rechargeable battery operated tools are the bomb.com. They're just the best.
They are.
Oh, I love your next one. Go ahead and read it.
Forget the all day in the garden where you just go in exhausted. Try to do a little bit every day. I say preferably
Mhm.
early in the morning. I was out this morning from like 7:15 to 9:15, and I got quite a bit done, but I wasn't exhausted. I got some stuff potted. I got some stuff weeded. I got some, a couple I found something to cut back, some hydrangeas and stuff, and it was fine. And
Now that I
I
don't
prefer
have to
morning. Huh?
now that I don't have to dress for ticks every single time I go out there, it's a lot easier to just pop out and do something and come back in.
Yes, but I'm not exhausted at the end of the day, and I
Mm.
prefer morning real early. Evening, you do have to fight mosquitoes here. I'm assuming
Well,
there
here
too.
too, except it's windy here, so it helps with the mosquitoes. Anything else you wanna say about that topic?
No, except I guess our plant palette changes as we get older.
Okay, so instead of just saying go older, I think it's also we become better gardeners and we
Yes,
become wiser. And so we're willing to expend our energy where it needs to be expended instead of doing dumb things like we did when we were new
we
gardeners.
yeah. Did we do dumb things?
Oh, I did so many dumb things.
Yeah, I did
And
too.
and I'm not saying I'll never grow sweet peas again, for example, because I really do love them, but I don't need them that much. I really don't.
Yeah, I wish I had grown some sweet peas because this would have been the perfect spring for them.
Right? Here too, because the
Perfect
weather's
spring,
just
and I
been
missed out on
awesome.
it. I got a late start because of the landscape guys coming and doing the paths and everything for me, so anyway,
That's okay. It's
it's
all
alright.
good.
Do a quote
All
and let's
right,
talk
ready
about
for the quote?
vegetables. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm ready.
My heart is light with May. The sky is soft. The coming birds are silent on their way. That's Mary Mapes Dodge. Vegetables.
So
Oh,
we didn't know what to talk about.
we're doing our back to the basics
Yes, we
series.
are.
Alright.
And honestly, back to the basics, as we said, start with good soil and you're 99% there.
True. Yeah. And when I wrote my book back in 2014, which was a long time ago,
12
it's
years.
still Huh?
12 years.
Yeah, a long time ago. It's still out there, I'm surprised. Start in containers or raised beds, which are just giant containers. I put that in my book. In fact, the whole beginning of the book is about containers, and raised beds are just containers. I mean, people make it out to be so complicated. It's not complicated. Alright, the next one is
Do not try to grow everything.
that everybody does that when they first start. They want to grow because you get in front of those seeds and it's like a world of possibilities. Well, the problem is you only have so much space and so much time, and it gets really hot, and vegetables are annuals and they have to be picked all the time because they have harvests. You know what I'm saying?
I do know what you're
And
saying.
it
And
can get
so,
overwhelming very fast.
yeah, and I used to when I spoke, I used to have this one pager, which was, like a basic Hoosier garden, I called it, a basic Indiana garden, and I, like, grow these things early in the spring, grow these things in the summertime, skip these things, unless you have a whole lot of space, but I just had this, like, very simple and, you don't need 10 jalapeno pepper plants, for example, 2.
No, because even if well, only reason you would need that many is if you really love stuffed jalapenos with cheese and
Or
bacon on
you
it.
were gonna be selling them or something, but I'm telling you, if you had a good pepper year and you had 10 jalapeno pepper
Oh my
plants,
gosh, you'd have more peppers than you know what to do with.
yeah, or you're
So
gonna take them in and share them with your coworkers or something.
so don't pretend that you're a farmer. And by the
Exactly.
way, they make really good jalapenos now that don't have a lot of heat, but they still have a bunch of the flavor, and they are really good.
They are very good.
Fooled You or something like that, and there's one called oh, I used to know them all, but they sell them at the box stores. So, you also don't need perfect straight rows. You don't need to
Why?
bring out your string. I did all this stuff when I first started. You don't need to bring out
Well,
your string and mark it. You don't have to.
you don't have to, but it does make it look pretty nice, and it's not that big a deal to like, I will take a yardstick out there and slap that on the ground and just plant next to it. I'm not saying it's squared up to the bed or whatever, but that makes it
Monty Don
easy.
uses that 2 by 4.
Yes, he does. I I
Mhm.
I don't wanna, like, derail the conversation, but I read a Substack of a gardener that's pretty good over there in England, and he says if people mention Monty Don, he charges them extra.
I think people do get tired of hearing his name,
Well,
but
they
I
they
love
said
him, so
yeah,
uh,
they said it's yeah, his gardening is always pretty basic, the same stuff over and over and over. So,
yeah, it
anyway,
is. But isn't gardening kinda basic? I mean, really,
it
when you
is.
get right down to it, it's kinda basic. I
And the
don't
other
know.
thing about you don't need perfect straight rows. And I'll tell you what, if you're like confused, like how close should I plant my peppers? And I've seen some horrible mistakes where you go in July and you're like, that should have been further apart, or you really did need to stake those tomatoes. The square foot gardening books, and you can get any edition. They really
They're
have
all
some
the same.
pretty practical information on spacing and things like that. So
You
you
can
could
buy
get
them
one of those.
on used bookstore deals.
Oh yeah.
Mel died, so it's okay.
But his
Uh,
children are carrying on. There's a
that's
foundation.
true. There's a foundation, and they've done a good job, and
You can
I'm
actually
not I'm
become a
not saying
certified square foot gardener, D.
no thanks, I don't care about square foot gardening, I'll be honest. It's just French intensive gardening.
But
Moving
it's
on.
it's nice for new people.
It is very nice for new people, but I'm not new. Okay. Only grow what you like to eat, Carol. That seems obvious. I
It
wrote that one
does.
down, I think. But you know what? People grow things they hate, and why would you do that? You're gonna
I don't know
ew.
why do you grow Swiss chard, D?
I don't grow it anymore, it's gone. It was pretty, that's why I did it.
Yeah.
But, there's a lot of pretty things. The blood red beet ones, the same greens from the beets that are blood red, those are pretty too, and I like beets, and I like beet greens, so I don't like Swiss chard. I really don't.
Well, the other thing I do tell people is you think you don't like something vegetable wise, give it one shot in your garden because it may be
Turnips,
something turnips, um, I would say
radishes,
okra falls in that
okra. Oh
category.
my gosh. I had the best okra while I was out of town.
If you think, "Oh, I don't really like," try to grow it one time, and you might actually like it.
Yeah, because there's nothing like homegrown vegetables. That's very true.
And
I went
cucumbers, tasteless from the grocery store, delicious from the garden.
Yes, and so many kinds. You can grow so many kinds of cucumbers. I went to an Indian restaurant. I ate out the whole weekend, and I did fine, by the
That's
way.
great.
I was very careful, but I ate out. I decided this was a good time to do it because I was all by myself and I didn't have to worry about bill. And so the first night I went to an Indian restaurant. I'm telling you this because of okra. So I ordered this dish and it was like a curry with okra and I asked them to make it vegan and they did. It's fabulous. Over basmati
Oh,
rice. All right, so the next one is all right, kids and gardening. The biggest thing and the biggest mistake everyone makes is don't give them weeding. Let them plant the fun things. Grow stuff that's really fast, like radishes. Um, Make it a fun family project. Don't get too hung up on it because kids don't garden like you do.
no.
So they're gonna
They
plant things in weird spots and, I let
or
my
they're gonna lose
son
interest until something happens.
they're gonna totally lose interest. I mean, they'll plant 5 peas and they're done, and that's okay. Brennan used to bring his, dump trucks into one section of my garden, I let him do it, and he would make huge hills and do all this stuff in that one section, and so he got to be with me outside, and he does like being outside. He's not
Cool.
much of a gardener, but that's okay.
Yeah, don't use weeding as a punishment. "If you don't stop that, I'm gonna make you weed the garden."
Oh, my
Don't.
dad did that to me once. Yeah.
So,
You
okay,
wanna do the quote?
I do. Then you have to remember to be thankful. But in May, one simply can't help being thankful that they are alive, if for nothing else. Ellen Montgomery, obviously from Anne of Green
On our
Gables.
bookshelf is I don't know where my book is.
I thought you
Um
just got it. You
I did just get it. Let me go find it because this is dumb. I'll be right back.
so it's called I'll do the intro. Garden for Life: Strategies for Easier, Greener, More Joyful Garden as We Age by Rhonda Fleming Hayes. We'll put links and Um, Rhonda is an award-winning writer and author, and here comes Dee back with her book, so I can keep
I'm even in
go
this book.
I know you're in this book.
I'm in here.
So she has some profiles of various gardeners that she has met through the years, and I'm turning and I'm just looking through this book because I didn't know that, and I came to what page was it? I had it marked, but I
Oh,
don't
you want
have it
my
marked.
page?
Your
My
page,
page is 159.
page 159.
And
Is a
there I am
profile
standing
of
in
D. Nash, the
yeah,
D.
in my tick
Nash.
clothing.
Yes. So anyway, it's a lot of good information, kinda ties into our topic of how you can continue to garden as you get older and some of her tips, like, and I'll give you some of the section headings, right sizing your garden, and I preach this because I spoke at the Senior Promise. Make your garden the right size, and you can do that by the plants you choose and by the square footage.
Yeah. K
Does
This book is so good.
Designed for comfort and joy. Um, some She has methods, she has ways to reimagine your garden, smart tools of the trade, and then she's got staying in the game, when and how to get help, remembering, forgetting, and record keeping, sit down, stand up. In other words, don't stay in the same position over and over. What are you looking at now?
I'm on page 79, and it's Peggy Martin, A Plant with Grit.
Yes. And
Isn't
by
that
the way,
funny?
Rhonda gardens in the summertime up in the Minneapolis area.
Mhm.
She does go down to New Orleans for the wintertime because she has grandkids down there. And she talks about that in the Peggy Martin section. She has a garden in 2 places.
Mhm.
So anyway,
It's a
um
great book because it's written by somebody who actually gardens and
yes,
she's learning how to manage it as she gets older, and she
yes,
has a whole section on downsizing, which I just did.
yep,
She has a whole section on what to wear to stay more comfortable,
yes,
not get hurt. She has a section on pathways and how to make them safe. Because those pathways that you put in when you were young with the uneven rocks and everything, I'm sounding
right.
like such an old person, but, maybe, check them and make sure there isn't like a brick that's out of place. Oh, look who else is profiled. One of our very good friends. Can you read it? It's
Mary Shear.
Mary. Mary
Yes,
Shear.
she's up there in Minneapolis. Yeah, she's
Yes,
got a
she
really
is.
nice
And she is a
Substack.
wonderful,
We'll link to her
wonderful gardener.
Substack. It's about gardening, Northern Garden. She used to be the editor of Northern Gardener magazine.
Yeah.
Really nice person.
Oh my gosh. One of my favorite people um to travel with.
Yeah.
We make each other laugh on those on those garden tours.
But I
Um,
I agree with you on the path, and so I got a new path. It's rocks, but I think I might over time add some stepping stones to make it a little bit surer underfoot.
yeah, because you just never know, and I garden on a hill, so there's that too. Anyway, it's just a wonderful book, and
It
Rhonda did
is.
such a good job, and she's been working on it for a long time
She
because she
has.
asked me about that profile, I wanna say 2 years ago?
Could be.
And then she said, "Do you have a picture for it?" And I sent her a bunch of pictures, and she chose that one because I'm in my tick clothing. And
Yes,
the
and she has
profile, the questions she asked and I answered, she wrote it beautifully. I mean, beautifully, and she talked about alpha gal syndrome and said, "D." Oh, this was when last year when I downsized and took some of my garden out,
right.
okay? And she said, "D is also motivated to downsize after being bitten by Lone Star ticks and acquiring a condition called alpha gal syndrome or AGS. AGS is a serious tick-borne allergy, also known as the red meat allergy. Besides red meat, other products derived from mammals like dairy, gelatin, or medications can also trigger reactions." And then she talked about my shade garden. I thought her writing, the way she wrote these up for everyone was beautifully done, but she's always been a really beautiful writer.
Yes. Yes. And so I'm really happy that we got review copies of this. It's from Chelsea Green Publishing.
Yeah.
Really nice. Hold it up again, Dee.
I'm glad I
Garden
went
for
and got it
Life.
off my table.
Strategies for Easier, Greener, More Joyful Garden as We Age by Rhonda Fleming Hayes. This one's going to Garden Club next week to the ladies there to see.
This one I'm still reading and I'm keeping. Okay.
Well, I'm keeping it, but I'm gonna
But
let
you're
them
just
see it.
showing it to them. I think
I
it's
do
smart for the garden ladies to see it. And the
yeah,
truth is, those rosarians that I met, a lot of them were in this age group. And
yeah,
so we all
we're in
need
that
to
age.
think we want a garden for our entire lives.
We're in that age group, Dee.
That's what I said. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, I'm in the book, so obviously I am.
You're in the book, you obviously All right.
Obviously, I'm in that age group.
So when we set up our show notes last week, you looked at that quote and you said, "That's gonna be a mess." I broke it out into the lines so you could read the poem properly.
That's so nice of you.
Go
Okay, this
for it.
is called Lilac Flower Fairies by Cicely Mary Barker. White May is flowering, red May beside. Laburnum is showering, gold far and wide. But I sing of lilac, the dearly loved lilac. Lilac in Maytime, a joy and a pride. I love her so much that I never can tell if she's sweeter to look at or sweeter to smell. Cicely Mary Barker. That's
Very
beautiful.
nice. That is
Thank you for
beautiful.
fixing it because, boy, when we first copied it, I was like, "Oh, that doesn't look like so."
All our lilacs are bloomed now.
Mine too. Mine are bloomed out. They
They've
bloomed out
bloomed
early.
early. Well,
Yeah, because, well, we had warm temperatures and they
I have a
bloomed.
Japanese tree lilac that'll bloom here in another usually it blooms at the early part of June, but I don't know, it's probably gonna make it to mid-May and then bust out.
So you found our dirt, which is so true.
Sure. So, anyway, I got apprised of this. There's a guy on Instagram, it's called Nick Fox Radio, and he started showing all the stuff that boomers are leaving to their Gen X kids
Yeah, they didn't
and
want our china.
how much of it there is, and there are some over the top collectors out there, like thousands of Beanie Babies, and there's one on Matchbook cars, and I think the guy had like 38,000 Matchbox cars, and then Precious Moments figurines, Longaberger baskets out the wazoo. I've got a bunch of
Yeah, I've
those.
got a few of those.
Anyway, and then I found an article that says boomers have a lot of stuff, and it says there's this like they call it the big wealth transfer as the boomer wealth transfers to the next generation, but a lot of it's not actually money, it's stuff. It's I model trains. Oh my gosh, Dee, when you follow this Nick's box, you just wanna laugh and also, like, look around your own house and say, "Hmm, should probably get rid of some of this stuff. Keep what you want,"
Well, I
but
did.
yeah,
I'm
you
in the
did.
process. That's why I'm going to meet that lady today. I mean, in our case, we have motorcycles. We have an extra car that I'm selling. Um, I have a lot of china. I have all of my red and white china. I'm only taking 2 plates over here. I have tea sets. Oh my gosh, we have so much stuff.
But they oh, and, and the stuff that people think to collect, and you're like, "Huh?" Like, there's one, this person has a collection of, like, hand egg beaters,
I mean, I
hundreds
do love a good hand egg beater, but why would you
hundreds of
collect
hand egg
those?
beaters
Oh
or,
god.
salt pepper shakers like
Oh, those are
crazy.
really popular, yeah.
Oh my
Spoons.
gosh.
I remember in the '50s, well, not I mean, I wasn't in the '50s, I'm not that old, but I remember that people from that time period collected spoons from all over the place.
Or, like,
Was a
National
thing.
Geographics, like, the boomers must have gotten National Geographics from their parents from the '40s and '50s whenever that started, then added to them, like, stacks and stacks of National Geographics, and
Mm-mm. I just got all my quilts put in my little quilt deal over
there
here.
you go. Anyway, it's
Man,
just interesting, and you look at that and you're, like, horrified that not horrified, but you're just like Pez dispensers,
I
and
said to
and
my friend, my Bulgarian friend, I said, "Americans have too much stuff.
they do, and,
We are really ridiculous."
it is, and part of it, they said that so many of these people are what they call completist,
Yeah,
and
I'm a
so
completist. I
if
have to
there
be
are
really careful about
100
that.
in the series, they want all 100 of them.
Mhm.
They
Yeah, I
they
know.
won't stop at just this one.
No, no,
Anyway,
not doing that anymore.
I'll do a quote.
Okay,
Let's move on.
let's move on.
The month you know what I have a collection of? I was in the garage looking to find a certain size pot. I have more clay pots than you would think possible.
I have a lot too.
Just regular
A
clay
lot of them are
pots.
going into sale.
Just
So
regular clay
people note
pots.
that, local people, there's gonna be pots and all kinds of things in this sale.
Cool.
No, I don't have the date yet.
All right.
All right.
The month of May is the pleasant time. Its face is beautiful. The blackbird sings his full song. The living wood is his holding. The cuckoos are singing, ever singing. There is a welcome before the brightness of summer, and that is by somebody named Lady Gregory. And obviously, it's in England because that's where the cuckoos sing.
That's right. Okay, rabbit holes. I didn't write mine down, but I've been deep in the rose rabbit hole.
No
I put
doubt.
together that talk. I had to go back and find all my pictures that were from before I had rose rosette disease. That was discussed a lot at this conference. And you know what? It was interesting. Almost all of us in this part of the world had rose rosette from 2009 to 2011. Now it's still out there. In fact, the
Right.
hotel they stayed in had rose rosette in front in the knockout roses, of course, the knockout roses. And we were all like, "We gotta tell them so they can get them out of there." But everybody has tried really hard to get the word out about that disease, just like I did about alpha-gal, and which also was in my talk. And so, my rabbit hole was really about roses. It was really about roses and historic roses, and I did identify my salvia, and now I'm not gonna be able to get the name out, and everybody's gonna laugh at me. I identified my unknown salvia. I'll get it in a minute, but anyway, it was one that I thought it was, and then I got to see it in mass at this garden, and I was like, Henry Dulberg. Thank you. Henry Dulberg's the one, and they had all underplanted with that, and of course, some of it changes back to the white form. But anyway, it was just a wonderful weekend of rabbit holes all about roses.
Cool. So I'm searching on the internet for information about Elda Harding, the
Hilda.
next lost lady of garden writing. She wrote a book about growing plants from seeds, and I found it on Instagram. Saw a picture of the book and thought, Elda, okay. And so that's been interesting. She's not very hard to find, but I had never heard of her before. Had you heard of Elda Harding?
No, I've never even heard the word Elda before.
As a
That
name.
name. Yeah, I've never
And,
heard that.
I wrote Haring, and I'm like, is it Haring or Harding? I can't remember. I'll have to get that right
See,
before I
it's like
write.
Henry Dilberg.
Yeah. Anyway, I also, Dee, I listened, you've probably read this book or with your kids. I listened to
Yeah, I did.
Matilda by
Uh-huh.
Roald Dahl because it came out in 1988 and I was far too old. But now I'm old enough to do children's books again. And I thought, here's a summer reading project. All the books mentioned in Matilda would be a summer reading project, but that
That
would
would be
be
hard.
every Charles Dickens book. I'm like, no,
I've read a bunch of them, but no.
no.
They're all this big. They're all
Yeah,
3 inches wide.
exactly. And then
Um,
I do want to recommend Raising Hair by Chloe Dalton, which
okay,
is a memoir. Have you heard of this
okay.
book?
No, I'm not.
So she's in England and it starts in the lockdown of 2020.
Mhm.
She
I'm
uh
writing it down.
accidentally or ignorantly, I guess, rescues a baby hare, not a rabbit, a hare, Hare.
Yes.
And then this is a wild creature and
Yeah,
everybody's like,
they're wild as a March hare.
exactly. And so people are like, you shouldn't have done that. You shouldn't have done that. But anyway, it is the story of her raising the hare. And I think also the hare opening her eyes to the natural world. She's a journalist
Yeah.
and she was, constantly going all over the world covering things. And so she was kind of forced to be outside of London in the country. And, she talks about misconceptions about the hare and then
Uh-huh.
some of the agricultural practices that have been bad for the hares and, putting more hedgerows and things like that, getting planted. And then what she learned from this hare, which she never names the hare. She never gives a name
Why?
because she doesn't want to think of it as a pet.
Oh, I
And
see. Okay.
she's treating it like a wild animal that it is. But
Well, because it is.
you must I listened to the audiobook. I thought the audiobook was really well done. It was narrated by Kate Winslet. It was really well done.
Oh,
I
well,
think
that would be
wait a
nice. I
minute.
mean, I
No, wait a
would
minute. I think Matilda was done by Kate Winslet. But I will say that the narrator of this was also excellent. I just didn't have her name. And at the very end, she has an interview with Chloe Dalton, which I thought was really good and well worth listening to as well.
oh, I think that would be the best part. What happens to the hair?
I don't wanna tell you anything like that, Dee,
Oh, okay.
but but you don't have to worry about sadness and death.
Okay, good. I don't like that. I don't like sadness.
You don't have to worry about sadness or death. You just have
Good
a
to
good
know.
listen.
Good
So,
to know.
anyway, is that enough of a rabbit hole for this week?
That's a good one. That's a really good one.
Oh my god, I read this other book called Miss Lark by E. Nesbitt. I don't know
You
what
read
E stands for.
anybody I know.
Oh, I've been reading this one for like 3 weeks, and I finally finished it, and these 2 girls have been, like, released from their, boarding school by the one's, solicitor, who's what do they call that? The one person over the estate. So they get deposited at this
Executor.
executor, thank you. They get deposited at the house of an elderly aunt who has passed away, and basically there's a note on the table says, "I blew it with all your investments, and so you only have £500." But anyway, these 2 end up starting a little, flower business and selling flowers, and so that
That's
was kinda
fun.
fun. Yeah, like,
That's a
everything
fun
was a
one.
lark. They
Yeah,
call it
that's
the
fun.
lark because they're just anyway. A garden
That's
to visit,
fun.
Dee.
Gibbs Garden in Georgia, in a place called Ball Ground north of Atlanta. I don't remember this garden, Carol.
Oh, Dee, I'm going to tell you how you're gonna remember this garden. Do
Okay.
you remember seeing a garden in Atlanta, north of Atlanta? It was pouring down rain the entire time, and we went and saw the Japanese garden in this garden, and it was so
I do
beautiful with the
remember it. It was
pouring
so wet.
rain.
It was
So wet,
terrible.
so wet. These people had worked so hard because we were
It
there
was
with
so
Garden
sad.
Club. They'd
Yeah.
worked so hard, and a lot of people just, like, stayed in the gift shop and stayed on the bus, and it's like, "Well, let's
You and
go
I
see it."
walked it.
And then after a while, the umbrella was useless, and you're soaked to the skin anyway, so
What
I
difference does
st
it make?
That's where I tell people, when you go and see a garden in the pouring rain, go out there and see it anyway, and it can be one of the most beautiful places you've ever been, and I will still say that Japanese garden in the pouring rain was one of the most beautiful places I've ever been in a garden.
That's true.
I also
That's
will
true.
say that my shoes got so wet.
That's that's all I could think of was my shoe.
They were so wet, Dee, that I was glad I had a second pair of shoes, which is a tip. If you're going to on a garden tour, always have 2 good pairs of walking shoes because it is quite possible you'll get one so wet that you won't be able to wear it for weeks for it to dry out.
Yeah, these were bad.
Mine, when they dried out, they shrunk. I could no longer wear them comfortably, and I ended up donating them.
But
If
it's a
they're
beautiful garden.
It is a beautiful garden. If you find yourself north of Atlanta, it's not too far. I was looking at the map. It's not very far. It's south of Chattanooga, south of Knoxville. Wouldn't be a very far drive. And
Yeah.
north of Atlanta, there's Atlanta and then Alpharetta, and it's kinda north of that. I mean, we went from Atlanta, and it wasn't a bad trip.
Okay.
So, anyway, do you
Cool.
remember it now, Dee?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. The rain. Yeah. And I remember the Japanese garden. I've seen a lot of Japanese gardens, but I remember that one. Yeah.
I will surely have pictures of that, and I will put one in the newsletter.
And
Now we're to garden commissions, which you
I
call
also
garden
remember us
tours.
walking around from the front, like walking around the front of that building, and we were getting back on the bus, and it was like we were so wet.
So wet.
Oh, I've never been so wet, except when I was uh, down in was it Pittsburgh? No, the Delaware. Anyway, the last big
You went to the
garden.
one around Philadelphia.
Oh, yeah, that one, and it was also the Delaware Valley. There was a whole section. I
I didn't
actually
go on
brought a
that one.
raincoat on that one, thank God, and it's an English raincoat, so it's a real raincoat, and there are pictures of me with it tied under my chin, and I'm like, "I am
Anyway,
so
we'll talk
miserable."
about those gardens another day. Gibbs Garden
Okay.
was the one today. Now, as you called it, garden chores, garden commissions.
I'm gonna plant my roses and plant my African blue basil, which I'm so excited about, even if I have to cover it. That's not a big deal. I can cover it. It's only 3 plants. What else do I have to plant? Well, I really, really need to take my Plum Perfect rose and my Leonardo da Vinci rose out of the pots and stick them in the garden, because here's the problem. The pots look really good right now because since we've had such a beautiful spring, all of the pansies and violas are at perfection.
Oh, yeah.
So it's really hard for me to take them out of there, but I'm gonna have to. Okay,
Yes.
your turn.
So I'm gonna go buy more plants because
Me
my
too.
my youngest sister, I stopped by her house yesterday. She had a couple of plants and, like, they were Courtney's not selling that particular plant. I'm like, "Oh, I gotta go buy that." Pot some stuff up, plant some stuff out, weed mow. I'm gonna set my tomato stakes. I don't know if I'm gonna put the tomatoes in the ground, but they're so lanky, they gotta go in the ground. But it will be Mother's Day, and that's, like, the cutoff, so I think I'm gonna go ahead and risk it, and if I lose them all, I'll have to buy them again, so anyway, that's
Cool.
it.
Very good.
It's go time.
It's go time. It's been go time here. Let's wrap this up because we got a plan next week, and
Thank
I
you
gotta
for
meet
listening.
this lady in
Okay.
45 minutes.
I'm trying to wrap it up, but you keep
I know
talking.
you are.
Thank you for listening to The Garden Angelist. We publish every week on Wednesdays at 12 a.m. Eastern Time. Be sure and follow us on Apple Podcasts. That helps us get noticed by others.
If you subscribe to our Substack newsletter, you get a link to listen to the podcast a whole day early and links to products we discuss. Plus, go over to YouTube and see us in person. You can see how bad my hair looks today. Full episodes show up on Tuesdays. So if you can't wait until Wednesday, you now have 2 ways to get episodes on Tuesdays.
If you want to help support us, use our affiliate links. If you buy something after clicking through on them, we earn a small commission and it costs you nothing.
Or you can set up a monthly subscription through Buzzsprout or make a one-time donation through PayPal. You also have the option of pledging your support on Substack.
Thank you to everyone who has done so. It helps us pay for podcast hosting.
It was lovely to chat with all of you over the garden gate. Bye until next week.
Bye, everybody.